Why did the price of Bitcoin drop by 9% over the last 4 days to levels we haven't seen in a week? Well, there is new data showing that whales are accumulating Bitcoin alongside BlackRock and the Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock now owns about 750,000 coins. So the real question everyone is asking is, why is Bitcoin dumping? And I guess the leading question is, where is Bitcoin going next? So I'm not alone. We finally got Nico back in the building. He's back. He's back from being an influencer and influencing all of Europe. But let's get into this. So I'm just going to drop some data here for you guys. Let's go over some of these numbers. Of course, you know, Bitcoin price, we had all-time highs on last week. It hit around 124K. Currently, we're down around 115K. And I have been getting friends texting me, guys, if we don't pump in the next couple of days, it's bear market for a few years. And Nico and I keep saying, and I think everyone in the chat keeps saying the same thing. All of my friends that are in media are like, there's too much good news for this to be the end of the bull run. And then people are like, bro, market dynamics. You don't understand the bear div on the daily and the weekly and the 4. I'm like, whatever, dude. It doesn't matter. The accumulation that we are seeing here is at unprecedented levels. So I'm over here on CoinGlass. Just going to look at some of the numbers here. You can see total net inflows of 589.26 thousand Bitcoin, trading volume 536.35 million, total net assets 152.18 billion. Now, I really want to go here to the ETF heat map. Guys, look at this. IBIT, BlackRock ETF, which is going to really lead into our news story. I'm sure you guys heard some interesting stuff coming out from Larry Fink. We're going to cover that later on in the day. But IBIT, the Bitcoin ETF at BlackRock, has now accumulated 750,000 coins. Combine that with Sailor, they hold, I think it was like 1.35 million coins. It's insane. The amount of accumulation going on right now is just nuts. And then, of course, some of the other big competitors, FBTC, Fidelity's Bitcoin ETFs, roughly around 200K Bitcoin, Grayscale Bitcoin ETF, 180,000, and then there's some smaller players. But you can see they are accumulating a lot of Bitcoin. This is over 1 million Bitcoin that they have acquired. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying this is paper Bitcoin summer. Are they actually buying the Bitcoin? From everything we can see, especially with in-kind redemptions coming to ETF soon, they are actually acquiring all of that Bitcoin. And here's some other charts. Doesn't matter. But really looking into the numbers of the BlackRock IBIT ETF is absolutely crazy, guys. In the last week, IBIT from BlackRock has acquired 7,493 Bitcoin. Of course, this isn't BlackRock. This isn't Larry Fink just buying Bitcoin. This is customers at BlackRock wanting Bitcoin. And you go down to these numbers is absolutely crazy. The week before, 1,400 coins. The week before that, 3,000 coins. The week before that, 2.2 thousand coins. A month ago, 21,000 coins. 5 weeks ago, 15,000 coins. You get the picture. They're acquiring tens of thousands of coins every week, or rather, in the last couple of months, they have acquired a lot of coins here. And when you really break down just how much Bitcoin actually hits the network every single day, it's around 450 coins. You can't keep the price at this level for that long with the quote-unquote amount of fiat coming into Bitcoin. Now, of course, they are doing this buying in a way so it doesn't affect the price. But it really makes you wonder, when we were doing the show in the morning, or rather getting the show ready for you guys, we asked ourselves one simple question. Like, at what price will all of these institutions send Bitcoin to? And then where is their sell points? Are they acquiring this Bitcoin long term? Are we going to see some trading happen where they have a price point, then they dump the market? Well, it looks like we are kind of in one of these positions right now. 124K is a very strong resistance level here. You can see there's a lot of selling. If you look at the charts, and maybe I'll pull up the charts when Nico starts talking, you can see the reaction we got from 124K was vicious. And then we got one at 117K. We're around 115 today. You know, the price is really not moving much. In terms of historical kind of volatility in Bitcoin, 4%, 2%, 6%, 9%, that's really nothing when it comes to long-term Bitcoin holders. To us Bitcoiners, we've been here for a long time. You know, what's 9% decline between friends? That's just another walk in the park here for us Bitcoiners that have been doing this for a long time. But it's not just the Bitcoin ETFs that are scooping up Bitcoin. It's not just the corporate treasuries that are scooping up Bitcoin. We have just identified, well, it wasn't us, it was Adam Back, identified the Bitfinex whale is back, and he's buying $600 per second, or buying up all of the Bitcoin per day, 450 Bitcoin a day, from about 8:30 Central Eastern Time, around 150K. So hey, if you're selling right now because you think it's going into a bear market, you can sell it to the whales. They're scooping up the cheap sats right now. This is not the time to be selling, which really leads me to my last point here. This is where I'm going to bring Nico in and we can have this conversation. I saw this morning and it's very interesting. Excuse me. I don't know who this guy is, Wrecked Fencer, but this is a good account. This is a good tweet here. And this is kind of the vibe I've been getting. Me and Luke were talking this morning, and we both kind of came to the same conclusion. It feels like we are in a bear trap kind of territory right here. Remember the Wall Street psychological chart? We were in like disbelief last week or a couple of weeks ago. We're like, I don't think this rally's real. We did pump a little bit, and then it feels like we are in this bear trap. And I'm getting these DMs from my friends. I'm getting these text messages from my friends saying it's over, boys. Anyways, here's the numbers. 2011, the first start of the bull run was 9 months. Bear trap hit in month 6. 2013, the same thing. The duration of the bull run was 9 months. The bear trap hit at month 6. Same thing for 2017. Same thing for 2021. And we are currently in month 6 right now of what we think is the bull run right now. So who knows if this is going to play out, but it does feel like we are in bear trap territory. Of course, this is astrology for men. We're just trying to make sense of what's going on with the price here, considering we have all of this really good news coming out of Bitcoin, or rather around Bitcoin. We saw the institutions jumping in. We're seeing nation states jump in. We're seeing unprecedented levels of buying from corporate treasuries. The ETFs are scooping up tens of thousands, basically 1 million coins. It's hard to see how we can stay where we are right now. And I know I've been a broken record. I've been saying the same thing for a while. Again, you can break this down in very simple buy demand economics. There has been a lot of coins that are hitting the exchange right now. There is a lot of selling right now from some OGs, from some whales. We're not here whale watching. You can just see on the network, tens of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of coins have been sold, have been sent to exchanges. But at that same time, all of those coins are being scooped up right now. So we are speculating. We obviously don't know where the price of Bitcoin is going. We're just here to tell you guys, today is probably not the time to panic. And if you panic sold over the weekend, what are you doing? You need to be acquiring Bitcoin. I'm still convinced Q3, Q4 is going to be an incredible end of the year. That's my kind of working thesis right here. And I do have one more interesting chart to really, put a bow on this. But Nico, it's good to have you back, man. You let me high and dry last week. But what do you think about the price? Are we in bear trap territory? Bull run over? What do you think about all of these institutions acquiring Bitcoin? What's your vibe right now? We're just going to do a vibe check to start today's show.
Dude, well, first of all, happy to be back, man. Holy cow, I've been on so many flights the last couple of weeks, and I do want to give a shout out to Opti for holding it down. Opti, I can't thank you enough, bro, because you literally held it down for an entire week straight, back to back. And of course, shout out to the rest of the co-hosts, Sophie, which I know has become a fan favorite, Luke, and of course, our boy Chris. But as it relates to the price, yes, you're absolutely right. If you are selling Bitcoin right now, you are selling it to an institution. And we want Bitcoin in the hands of individuals. We don't want Bitcoin in the hands of governments. We don't want Bitcoins in the hands of BlackRock. We want Bitcoin in the hands of institutions. Now, what I will say
individuals. You said we want Bitcoin in the hands of individuals.
Thank you for catching me. This is exactly why I wanted you to start the show today, because I'm a little bit rusty. It took a week, man. I've been traveling. Was in Latvia for Baltic Honey Badger, and then I went to Helsinki for a Bitcoin conference there. Shout out Canute and Luke for hosting me. And now I'm in Madrid. I'll be in Madrid for the next couple of weeks or so. So what I was saying is, you want Bitcoin in the hands of individuals. And what I'm seeing specifically with this market, and I've been tweeting this out, I think I tweeted this out like two or 3 days ago. I said, this market Every single person that has tried to predict what has happened has got it catastrophically wrong. We are in completely uncharted territory. I mean, this could be the type of thing where the cycle might break next year. We might not have a bull market in 2026. Traditionally, what happens in Bitcoin cycles is the price goes up the year of the halving. Then the year after the halving, the price tends to go parabolic. That is 2025. However, 2025, we have not had a parabolic year. The day of Trump's inauguration, Bitcoin was sitting at 109,000. Currently, 8 months later, Bitcoin is sitting at 116,000. In between, we dropped to 76,000. Does that sound like a bull market to you? That doesn't sound like a bull market to me. Going from 109K to 116K? To be fair, we did start the year at 95K. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like bull market. That doesn't sound like a bull market in Bitcoin terms. That's like a what, 15 to 25% return, which in any other category would be fantastic. But in Bitcoin, it's a little bit lackluster, and I think everybody's feeling it. So why is this happening? Like, could you explain it? Why is this happening? Why is this phenomenon happening? I think it has to do with very, very big players that are taking some chips off the table. These are people that bought Bitcoin under $1,000. They've gotten more than 100x return. And what I think they're doing is that they're cycling that Bitcoin into some of these Bitcoin treasury companies. So they're selling that spot Bitcoin. They're using that cash to buy exposure into these treasury companies where they think they can outperform the price of Bitcoin so that they can buy more Bitcoin. We also know that there's OGs selling, and I don't blame them. I mean, if you have more than 100x return, which most people don't see in their lifetimes, that is life-changing for a lot of people. So I think there's OGs that are selling, but the good news is this: eventually there won't be any more Bitcoin to sell, right? And that's when the price tends to go up. And the good news for you guys is the more we consolidate at these levels, we have this crabsolidation, as I like to call it, the stronger the foundation for the eventual leg up. The analogy that I always use is, imagine a beach ball. You put a beach ball underwater in a pool or in the ocean. And the deeper you push that beach ball, eventually when you let that beach ball go, it just shoots up. It shoots up out of the water, then it shoots up into the sky. The deeper you put it into the water, the more explosive force that goes up. So when we are consolidating at all-time highs at $116,000 per coin, that is very good because, again, you're consolidating on a foundation. You're building that foundation. One thing, but I will tell you guys this as well. We haven't made all-time highs in gold terms. And if you adjust Bitcoin for inflation, we haven't made technically all-time highs since 2021. If you adjust Bitcoin purchasing power for inflation, we haven't made all-time highs. So this is a very weird cycle. I think things changed as soon as the institutions got involved. I think as when the institutions got involved, you no longer had retail buying. And retail buying is simple, smash buy, right? When you have institutions buying, they're buying it in a way not to mark up the price. In fact, they might want the price to go down because that means that they can buy more Bitcoin. So to kind of like wrap this up, like, why is this happening? I think it's a combination of institutional manipulation so they can buy more Bitcoin. I think it could be potentially a little bit of some paper Bitcoin. I know that's not very popular to say these days. And then I think it's a combination of OGs taking a little bit off the top to upgrade their lifestyle. So it's a combination of all these factors. But as an individual tuning into Simply Bitcoin, you have to ask yourself, if you're selling Bitcoin now, number one, what are you selling it for? You're selling it for dollars. So you're selling it for something that's inferior. You're selling it for something that you can print an unlimited amount of, right? So you're selling something that's absolutely scarce for something that is not scarce whatsoever. So that's a bad trade, right? And then if you're scared that we've already reached the top, what I will say is I've bought in every top and I've bought in every bottom. Because what I do is I just dollar cost average, because I'm not seeing Bitcoin as this speculative trade. I'm seeing Bitcoin as a way to opt out, and I'm seeing Bitcoin as savings. And I promise you, if you see it that way, your life will improve. Go outside, touch some grass. I mean, I think it's the end of the summer after all, but you know, it's still amazing weather. Be with your family. Take low time preference and everything will be okay. Your life will get better once you switch to a Bitcoin standard. So anyways, Opti, you were talking about a chart.
I got one more. I got one more metric in here, but Nico, do you have on hand? Actually, first of all, I can tell that you hanging out in Europe with a bunch of Bitcoiners has really, adjusted your views a little bit. You haven't said a couple of these things in a while. So this is kind of one of those moments where you're like, this is why you go talk with other Bitcoiners, because you and I are in an echo chamber and you talk with more people. You're like, yeah, there's some points here. But someone asked, do you know what the all-time high adjusted for inflation is?
I think I saw Joe Carlosari talk about it. Let me pull up that. That's a great question. Let me pull up that. Post so that I can actually give you the actual.
But I know you're right there.
Okay,
I just don't remember what the number is.
Here it is. So let me pull this up so that you guys could see it, and I'll zoom in, of course. Excuse me. The inflation adjusted all-time high for Bitcoin in 2021 in today's dollars is 79,823. The current price is 117,000. That means the annual real CAGR since November 2021 has been 10%. So let me rephrase that. We have made all-time highs if you adjust it for inflation, but the CAGR of Bitcoin, meaning the compound growth, has only been 10%. And remember what Michael Saylor is claiming. Michael Saylor is claiming that the annual CAGR moving forward for Bitcoin is going to be, it's going to dwindle, but it's going to be from 40% and it's going to go down to 20% over the next 20 years. Over the last 4 years, it's been 10%. That doesn't sound very good, does it? Doesn't sound very exciting. And just to kind of give you guys an idea, in real estate or in the stock market, what you're aiming for is an 8 to 10% return, right? So that doesn't sound too exciting to me.
No wonder I'm bored.
No,
hey, Nico, we were promised 30% CAGR. We're only at 10%. It sounds up. It sounds like we're going up.
If you adjust it for inflation, right, we've only had that. Now, to be fair, right, we did go from $16,000 to 124, I believe, was the last all-time high in a matter of 2 years. That's a fantastic return. But that's taking into account if you bought the bottom, because if you bought the last top, I mean, a 69K to 120K, it's still a great return, but it's not, fantastic. I think a lot of people had expectations that Bitcoin was going to reach 150K or 200K or 250K or half $1,000,000. I still think it can. And I still think that this year, I agree with you, Opti. You were saying it earlier. I agree. I think that this year is going to be fantastic. And if it's not fantastic, we are in completely uncharted territory. Bitcoin has never done this before. It has never not gone up in a parabolic fashion the end of the year after the halving. So Q4 of the year after the halving, it has always gone parabolic since its inception. So what does that mean? That means November, October, December, right? Now, does that mean it's going to do it again? No one knows, but that's what I expect. But as a good friend told me when he came on Simply Bitcoin IRL, Bitcoin has a way of taking your expectations and just absolutely destroying them, right? So the good news is that number eventually goes up. And the reason that number goes up is because they're going to print more dollars, and it's infinity divided by 21 million. But again, where is this parabola, Opti? We've been scratching ourselves waiting for that dopamine hit since 2021, bro. Where is it? We've gotten little teases of it. Like November of last year, like, oh my, I feel alive again. And then within 2 weeks, right? And then it's like, oh my God, we hit an all-time high. We hit 124,000, but it's like, so we went from 122 to 124 that we're like, whoop-de-doo. Like, what does this matter, right? So yeah, if you've been in Bitcoin for a while, right? This is different. The Bitcoin is maturing. It still had incredible returns over the last 2 years. I still think it's going to have incredible returns the next 5 years or so. But the big million sat question is, or million Bitcoin question is Bitcoin going to go into a parabola at the end of this year?
Well, I would say, keep going.
Is the Bitcoin bull market going to extend into 2026?
Yeah, no, I like how you picked that million Bitcoin question, because that is, what these institutions are accumulating at this point of this year. And I would say the million Bitcoin question here, or maybe it's even more, maybe it's like 2.5 million Bitcoin question has Wall Street been able to tame Bitcoin? I've been saying for a while, it seems like we're trading the S&P 500 and we're bored. Like, we're just bored to death here. It's like, man, Bitcoin's boring now. This sucks. 10% CAGR is boring. What's going on? This is not what I signed up for. I signed up for dopamine rush, parabolic runs. No, I'm just kind of trolling. It's Monday, guys. But I do have one more number here, Nico, and I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but added with everything we're seeing, the amount of capital coming into Bitcoin right now is, I would say, probably bigger than we've ever seen before in the history of Bitcoin. Obviously, the market cap of Bitcoin's bigger. We're not really seeing the price move as much as it used to on maybe a daily, monthly, yearly level. But with the amount of capital coming in, it's hard to see how it isn't going to rip. And this is where this next chart comes in. The amount of capital that has come into Bitcoin is tiny. It's tiny in comparison to what is available out there. So our boys over at TFTC, or rather, sorry, Marty Bent, dropped this on Twitter, and he goes, global fund managers are still woefully underweight Bitcoin. A recent Bank of America survey found that just 9% of managers that responded have any exposure to Bitcoin, with a weighted average allocation of those who have being 0.3% of assets under management. The quote, smart money is still missing the best performing asset of all time 16 years after it entered the world. When they wake up, it's going to get absolutely nuts. And we've been kind of covering this. We've been seeing the beginning, like trickling of capital come in. Last week was kind of a huge week, I would say, though it was all going into the BlackRock ETF, which I will probably bring up some speculations later in the show. But the amount of capital that is coming into the space, even though these numbers are huge, they're buying billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars combined, it's still a tiny amount of the capital that can flow in. Again, only 9% of wealth managers that responded to this Bank of America survey are in Bitcoin, and only 0.3% of their assets under management. Again, 0.3 is that 30% of 1% has entered Bitcoin. And we're all like, yeah, bear market's over, bro. My TA is telling me this market sentiment is saying that we're going to dump, guys. Bear market is here. 3 years of sideways action. And I'm just like, the capital just hasn't even jumped into the space. They literally just like put their toe on the raft here, and it's already making the Bitcoin price move how it is. So when you look at it from a more optimistic view here, it just makes no sense to me. Of course, there's a lot of sellers, but the capital hasn't even flowed into Bitcoin as it should. We are just seeing the beginning of this, guys. This is just the beginning. This is just the second domino to fall. First one was probably Sailor. Second one is all these pension funds getting into ETF, or maybe we're the third domino. Sailor, ETFs, and now everyone allocating from pensions funds to institutions to sovereign wealth funds to the whole wave of corporate treasuries following Bitcoin. the capital hasn't even arrived yet. And I think when everyone comes back from summer, we all know, sell in May, go away for the summer times. Once everyone comes back from Monaco or whatever, wherever they are on their yachts.
Well, what type of friends do you have, bro?
That's not me. That's the bankers, bro. They're going to come back into the office and be like, you know what? We need to start buying this Bitcoin thing. So I'm still convinced. Q3, Q4, it's going up. We are going up.
Opti's used to those Monaco summers when he was
Dude,
with
you're the one in Europe, bro.
When he was with Christine Lagarde, that's where they would go. French Riviera.
Nico, I'm not fiending for a parabolic dopamine rush. I'm fiending for wearing those silk scarves again.
Oh man. But I think the point that you brought up with Marty Bent in regards to that data, this is the most perplexing thing to us, right? And Opti and I have the privilege to be able to cover the Bitcoin news for you guys every single day, or every single weekday. And this has been, in Simply Bitcoin's history, by far the most bullish year that you could ever have imagined. This is the type of stuff we were salivating about in 2018. Like, we were I remember it was like the institutions are coming. No, they were not coming. They were not even close to coming. The institutions are here. The president of the United States has the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company. The White House X account is literally posting that they want to make a Bitcoin. They want to make the United States the Bitcoin capital of the world. We're going to play a clip for you guys during the numbers. The new SEC head saying the same thing. And the price hasn't done anything. Like, what is going on? Like, this is the question. Like, this is what everyone's thinking about. But you know what? I was taking a look at Opti, and maybe if you can pull this up while we talk about it, and I'm crunched back in my chair. Let me sit up. If you could pull up the chart, Opti, like the Bitcoin chart of just like since its inception, because there was a time.
Wait, which chart?
Could you just pull up the Bitcoin USD chart?
Okay.
Since I just want to show like the different cycles, because there was something like kind of very similar when Mt. Gox blew up. I think it was like 2013, right, Opti?
Yeah.
That comeback in terms of Bitcoin took it took like 4 years, right? So like, yeah. So could you zoom in a little bit?
To back here?
Yeah. So like zoom in, like just, yeah. So like go, so like there. So like from 2013 to 2017. Right? And if you zoom in, okay. So you see that like it was going up, right? Like, so from, could you put up where the bottom was, Opti? So like July of 2015, I think. So like July, yeah. So like July of 2015. Okay. So from July of 2015 to 2017, the parabola only started at the end, bro. At the end, like it only started picking up. Look at that. So it was going up. The price of Bitcoin was going up, but it wasn't exploding. It was going up, but it wasn't exploding. Now, could you go to the present, like where we are right now, right? What does that look like to you?
My chart, boy.
What does that look like to you? Compare, like if you compare and contrast, right? Look at that. That slow crawl up, right? That slow crawl up. Now look at the slow crawl up now. What does that look like?
Okay.
What does that look like? Right? And now you have to ask yourself, why did it take so long to recover? Well, because remember, guys, the catalyst of the 2013 crash, which was epic, or the 2014 crash, was the Mt. Gox hack, which was where the majority of the Bitcoin trading was happening. It took the market like 3 or 4 years to digest that. And it was only until 2017 that there was a mania. You only get the parabolic rises with the mania. Now, Opti, could you pull up the Bitcoin Google Trends, please?
Yeah. 1 second.
So the point that I'm trying to make is we, in 2021, essentially got my theory of the case, and I know that some people disagree with me on this, but I'm sticking to my guns here, is that I think 2021 was cut short. And the reason it was cut short is because of the China mining ban. If you take a look at the Bitcoin price and the Bitcoin hash rate, there's a direct correlation between the hash rate dropping 50% and the initial correction in 2021. Because in 2021, we got a double top. We got the initial run up, we got a 50% correction, and then we made an all-time high, but it was barely an all-time high. But that initial top correlates with the hash rate dropping 50%. Now, a lot of people were underwhelmed with Bitcoin's price performance. People back in 2021 were expecting 100K. I think we would have hit 100K if it wasn't for the China mining ban. So what I think is happening is there's a lot of disillusionment, right? You can't explain what is going on right now. I posted this the other day. I think it was like 2 days ago. I forget exactly what I said, but I said something along the lines of, and it resonated with people because it got a lot of likes. And I said, don't worry. Nobody has any idea what is going on with the price action either, right? And Opti has the Google Trends pulled up, and you see that huge spike? That was 2017. So retail hasn't had interest in Bitcoin since 2017. Now, the second most interested time for retail was back in 2021. Even with all-time highs, we have not had the level of interest on Google Trends since 2021. So what does that say? That says that retail is not here. Retail doesn't even know Bitcoin exists. Now, there could be explanations for that. What is the explanation? People use ChatGPT these days. They don't use Google as much, right? Or Grok, or, Opti calls them demons. Or whatever AI, whatever AI engine you choose to use. The Gab one is pretty good too. And people use that instead of Google these days. That could be an explanation. Another explanation could be the fact that people aren't buying Bitcoin because they're buying ETFs and they're buying the Bitcoin treasuries, right? So, we don't know. But the good news is we're about to find out. Regardless of whatever, we are about to find out the Q3 and Q4 of this year, whether Bitcoin is in uncharted territory or this is a cycle like every other cycle. We're about to find out. So buckle up. Anyways, guys, it's a fantastic show. 586 of you guys tuned in on YouTube alone. 71 of you guys tuned in on Rumble, and X coming in hot with 1,300 live viewers. 12 viewers, I think 2,500. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash it. Smash the like button. I'm so happy to be back on the show, and really, really missed you guys. And during the culture segment, we're going to be talking about something very special. Happened last night while I was sleeping. Ladies and gentlemen, Simply Bitcoin broke 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And of course, that would not be possible without you guys. So we really appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And of course, it wouldn't be possible without our partners as well. So that leads me to, of course, I gotta give a shout out, guys. The best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. What makes Bitcoin Well fantastic? What makes it amazing? It's automatic self-custody. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. This perfectly aligns with our ethos because self-custody is real Bitcoin. Bitcoin Well doesn't allow you to leave your Bitcoin on the exchange, which of course aligns with our ethos. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, book a reservation or book a scheduling call with the Bitcoin Well Infinite team. This is a tailored white glove service for family offices, high net worth individuals, trusts, or organizations. And again, it's the same thing. As soon as you buy Bitcoin, when the funds clear, that Bitcoin goes straight to self-custody. What are you waiting for? Go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today and stay tuned for the end of the show where we're going to be giving away some Satoshis. All right, everybody, let's start the show. Let's hit the numbers. We have tons to talk about. We'll be right back in just a second. I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we are back. Smash that like button if you guys are enjoying today's show. We still have tons to cover and talk about. We're going to be talking about some interesting developments, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Fink is appointed as the chairman to the World Economic Forum. That is interesting. We're going to be talking about the Bank of International Settlements releasing basically a report talking about the different compliance levels of Bitcoin. And I'm going to be making an analysis on where I think this is heading because it's, I think, very obvious where this is heading. But before we do that, I do want to let you guys know where the price is. At the time of recording, it's at $116,320. Block height, 910,631. Sats per dollar, 860 sats per dollar. Market cap, 2.32 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 9.8%. Still ways to go. Decline from all-time high. It doesn't even seem that bad when you look at it percentage-wise, bro. Decline from all-time high, negative 6.5%. And then the realized monetary inflation, 0.84%. All right, I want to talk about this gentleman right here. His name is Gary Gensler. And you guys all know, right? It was weird because he went from being a super fan of Bitcoin to essentially, attacking the industry with the previous administration. It was like super, super strange, man. It was like, like he was an expert on it. And he talked very positively about Bitcoin. But when push comes to shove, look, the reality is that the previous administration was very hostile towards us. Like, that is the truth. That is the reality. Like, that's actually what happened, right? So, it is what it is. Now, this brings me to the next point, which I know is potentially unpopular with some of you guys. I always tell you this. I said, elections have consequences. So what does that mean? It's self-explanatory, right? Because I know Bitcoiners don't like politics in general. They think the system is fundamentally broken, which it is. But that doesn't mean that fiat politics don't have relevance. That doesn't mean that fiat politics are not important. In fact, I would say they are important. Why are they important? Because before you had Gary Gensler, who is the head of the SEC, who was part of the most hostile SEC towards Bitcoin in history. Even when the ETF was approved, he was dragging his feet. He didn't want it to happen, despite him being an expert on it, right? And I think that the pressure came from the previous administration. I mean, the executive branch, the White House. But what do I mean by elections have consequences? Take a look at what the new SEC chair is saying about Bitcoin. It's complete night and day, which again makes my point. Elections have consequences. So yes, buying Bitcoin and voting with your wallet, putting that Bitcoin into self-custody is by far the most important vote you can make. But as we head into the midterms next year in the United States, Opti and I will be talking about pro-Bitcoin candidates, because you want pro-Bitcoin candidates in office in your jurisdiction. If you don't want to move, if you don't want to be this a diaspora that's constantly moving to different places, if you actually want to be able to stay in the same location, yeah, you got to vote for pro-Bitcoin candidates. It's as simple as that. So take a look at this latest video, again, on Legacy Media, with the new head, or the newly appointed chair of the SEC, Paul Atkins, and what he had to say about Bitcoin.
So a couple of weeks ago, the administration issued the President's Working Group's report on digital assets in the United States, and there were clear directions to the SEC. We're part of the PWG, that President's Working Group, and clear recommendations for us to go forward and help make what the President has announced, his intention to make America the crypto capital of the world and have the world run on American technology. So we're mobilizing at the SEC all our different divisions and offices to focus on making that announcement become reality. So that's with our corporation finance division, investment management, and others. We're focusing on what we can do to make the regulations of the SEC encompass the crypto assets, and also make it so that people can have some clarity going forward. We're working with Congress. Obviously, the Genius Act was enacted here a few weeks ago with a big announcement at the White House by the President himself, and as he signed it. So that, I thought, was a very good step forward. And now there are other bills in Congress that are being considered, and when they return from their recess, I look forward to much more forward progress.
So again, a complete night and day contrast compared to the previous administration that was openly hostile. Now you're talking about basically someone saying, quote, the head of the SEC, we're mobilizing to make America the quote unquote crypto capital of the world. And this, again, to kind of wrap it up, to weave it back in, this is what I mean. Elections have consequences. This previous election, our industry was pushed into a corner. We were forced to act. And in DC, if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. Now we're in the room in DC. Now Bitcoiners are part of the donor class, right? So I'm going to end it with that. I'm going to pass it on to Opti, because Opti, we did get a whole lot of heat, man, when we first brought this up. There's the infamous Optigate that was happening when we tried to remain neutral for so long, when we were kind of trying to thread the needle. But then eventually when the samurai guys got arrested, we had to speak up as an industry. We had to free Ross. We had to listen, guys. If Trump didn't win the last election, Ross would still be in prison right now, right? So yes, as much as Bitcoiners believe in the world from the sovereign individual, which I think that world is an eventuality, it's going to happen. Right now, during the transition period, unfortunately, it is what it is. Fiat politics still matter. And I think that interview is a great representation of that compared to the previous SEC head, which just was terrible towards our industry. Just so many attacks on pro-Bitcoin banks, attack on the mining industry, attack on self-custody, arresting industry leaders left and right. Opti, what's your take, bro?
Yeah, well, on the surface, I've been saying this for a little bit. I really do like the rhetoric coming out of the administration, whether it's the Trump administration, whether it's the SEC or CFTC. We've seen a lot of really good rhetoric coming out from the administration, and I do like it. But that's why I'm using the word rhetoric right now, is because it does sound really good, and we are seemingly on the verge of a lot of things coming down the pipeline, which does make me hopeful here, especially as an American Bitcoiner. But really, on a worldwide level, whatever happens in the States, whether you like the United States or not, is going to have an impact on the rest of the world. And so having an SEC-friendly administration, administration towards Bitcoin, it really does make me kind of hopeful about what's going to come. I'm still kind of on the fence of it. I am a little paranoid about kind of overregulation in our industry because, this is kind of what they do. It could be set with good intentions, and I'm just hoping that there isn't kind of some second order effects that really kind of impact our industry in a way that no one saw coming. Well, I mean, maybe Bitcoiners saw, but if just like comparing it to what Gary Gensler was, I think it is night and day, like you said, Nico. It is very hopeful that things are happening in the right direction. With that being said, as we always say, the most important thing is people using Bitcoin, people holding Bitcoin, people putting Bitcoin into cold storage, running nodes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like we said in the beginning, as much as there is a lot of interest coming from institutions, it's really wanting the individuals to start holding Bitcoin. Now, I know for a long time, us Bitcoiners we're hoping that we would see this like grassroots movement, that it would be a, bottom up movement. But kind of what we're seeing now is like, it's a top and bottom movement happening at the same time. And it's the people in the middle that are really going to get blindsided when Bitcoin does what it does. And so I really hope more people kind of, take the orange pill. People really wake up to what's going on. And if you look at the world right now, like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the financial world right now that I think a lot of people are really blindsided to it. Like they are really blind to what is going on. And it is kind of sad. Like, it really is kind of terrifying how many people really are sleepwalking and don't know what's going to happen. And this is why we try to do what we do. This is why the 100K number to us is so important on YouTube, is because we believe you meet them where they are. The majority of traffic is on YouTube. We want more people to understand what's going on with Bitcoin, but a lot of people still fight Bitcoin. They still fight this idea of Bitcoin being successful because it's completely contrary to what they're used to. And people unlearning that is going to be the biggest battle that we're facing. And again, maybe I've been saying it for a while. Maybe this is just, a simple truism. It's just, we are, I would say, I'm going to do the collective Bitcoiner here are bad at orange pilling just the average person, because we want to kind of shill Bitcoin in a way that made sense and resonated with us. But a lot of people have different price points. And one of the things that I think is right now happening is people just don't have money. Like, people don't understand what's going on. If you have some capital, you're probably already set. You're comfortable. You don't really, kind of like dissect what's going on in the financial system. You're just kind of, hey, I'll buy real estate. I'll buy the S&P 500. Like, my returns are good enough. And then on the other side, it's just like you don't have any money to buy Bitcoin. And then everyone in the middle, you're either on the Bitcoin train, which is very few amount of people, or you're kind of just like going on and trying to figure out how to survive. So I really do hope that in an administration like the SEC, like the Trump administration kind of jumping into Bitcoin. I really hope that this does open people's eyes to, hey, this is something you actually have to own. Like, this is something that will save you. If you save in Bitcoin, you will get on the safety boat here. And let's just hope that more of this regulation does kind of open Bitcoin into a totally different paradigm. And I think that's what's happening. I think what we're seeing slowly, and of course, we are also seeing kind of, I believe, and I don't have the statistics on me, but again, more of a vibe check. I do believe we are entering the fourth turning. And it does feel like trust in institutions are at the lowest levels ever. People, either they trust the science too much or they completely disregard all the science, quote unquote. And so people just don't trust what's coming from the institutions. And maybe this is something that's going to backfire here. Like, I know a lot of people will probably not like Bitcoin because of the Trump administration embracing it. And that's really only hurting them. And so hopefully more people come into the space. Hopefully once we see this price come, I think Q3, Q4, we'll start to see the price running. And, maybe the greed bug comes back in, Nico, and people want to buy some Bitcoin, saving some Bitcoin.
Bro,
it sounds fun.
I don't know, man. I haven't that dopamine, bro, since 2021, dude. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, man. I forget what that feels like. I've gotten little glimpses of it here and there, man. But, will Bitcoin ever have a parabola again? I think that's a great question, actually, to ask the chat, Opti. Let me make that poll. Could you hold it down while I make the poll?
Yeah, sure. I don't know what you're saying. I was in the chat. No, Nico, just hit the ad. Hit the ad. Let's keep it moving to the next segment.
All right, I'm gonna set up the poll while I have it, guys. Make sure to drop your questions in the chat. Opti and I are gonna talk about it during the culture, and also I'm gonna drop a poll on the YouTube chat, basically asking you guys, will Bitcoin ever have a parabola again? We'll be right back in just a second. We're going to hit the news segment where we're going to be talking about some very, very interesting things, some things that you want to pay attention to because this is what is happening. All right, everybody, we'll be back in just a couple seconds.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We got to talk about, who we're fans of here at Simply Bitcoin, of course. Mr. Larry Fink, which Max Kaiser has coined the Bitcoin employee of the month many, many times. And I'll just dive straight into it, and then we'll add commentary. So the World Economic Forum clears Mr. Schwab, Klaus, of wrongdoing, appoints interim co-chairs. And who are those co-chairs? The World Economic Forum closed an investigation on its founder, Klaus Schwab, on Friday, clearing him of any wrongdoing. Appointed BlackRock CEO Larry Fink and Roche Holdings Vice Chairman Andre Hoffman as interim co-chairs of its board. So they are interim, right? So that infers that they're not going to be chairs until an official chair is appointed. But what a weird world do we live in, right? We're not big fans of the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and be happy of this, basically all these elites in Davos in Switzerland, basically making rules for the entire world, and a lot of the energy policies that they expect people to go along with. They're flying their private jets into Davos, right? Again, it's rules for thee, not for me. You'll own nothing and be happy. Okay, so then who will own everything? That's conveniently left out, right? So we're not really big fans of the World Economic Forum, and they're not really big fans of Bitcoin either, right? And what's really strange is now one of Bitcoin's leading proponents in the traditional financial markets, Larry Fink, was just appointed co-chair of the World Economic Forum. Now, you could see this in many different ways. You could see it as, dude, we are literally winning. We have literally made it inside the World Economic Forum. A pro-Bitcoiner has made it. Klaus is out, and now we have a Bitcoiner or someone who's pro-Bitcoin inside the organization. You could see that as winning, right? You could see that as winning. I mean, he's smiling. I'm kind of smiling. I'm cautious about this, right? I'm not a big fan of this organization, but now that Klaus is gone for alleged misconduct, not a big surprise there. And again, I love how it's like he's been cleared of any wrongdoing. So you guys investigated yourselves, right? It's like when the Fed investigates. This is when any organization investigates itself. Like, oh wow, you didn't do anything wrong. Look at that. What a surprise. But again, the CEO of the world's largest asset manager, which also has the leading and most popular Bitcoin ETF, the IBIT ETF, is now the co-chair of the World Economic Forum. Like, dude, reality is stranger than fiction. If I would have told you this 2 years ago, you would have been, no, if I would have told you 5 years ago, check this out. If I would have told you 5 years ago, Klaus Schwab has been kicked out for alleged wrongdoing. Larry Fink changed his tune from saying that Bitcoin is an index of money laundering to preaching Satoshi's gospel on CNBC and taking Klaus Schwab's chairman seat at the World Economic Forum. You would not have believed me, okay? So I think we're winning. I think I'm cautious about this. I'm cautious about this. Now, Opti, I want to get your thoughts on this before I move on to the actual meat and potatoes of this, but I thought I would mention it because, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not as optimistic as you are. I'm taking the other side of the coin here. My take when I heard this news is, guys, do not be buying the BlackRock IBIT ETF right now. This has me feeling weird all up and down my spine. This is not what I want to see, though. Am I surprised? Not at all. Larry Fink was one of the top ESG proponents. Obviously, the World Economic Forum has been one of the basically was their mandate. And only recently did we see kind of BlackRock drop a lot of these ESG mandates when it really became super unpopular. And then they pretty much scrapped it. And remember, a lot of the narratives coming out of the World Economic Forum was this idea like we will force this behavior to happen. Well, that kind of backfired on them, and they realized, go woke, go broke. And so they had to drop all of this stuff. And now we're seeing a totally different game being played. And I'm not the only one to say this, but there is kind of this trend going on right now where, you know, free markets are kind of the new trend. They're the new hype right now. And this idea of like controlling the free market is, I think, the next generation of the World Economic Forum forcing behaviors, is where, you know, free markets maybe being more conservative is kind of the hype. It's the new zeitgeist going on right now. And so they frame this idea like, hey, guys, you know, the skateboard meme, like, we're hip, man. Like, we're super hip. We see where the conversation's going. We see where the population is going. Like, we see where the culture's going. And therefore, you know, they kind of angle in this direction that, hey, you know, we're hip, guys. We know what's going on in the world. You should probably be buying Bitcoin, you know, freedom of speech, etc. When I hear things like this, it really gets my spidey senses tingling, and it makes me think that a lot of the stuff that we're doing here as Bitcoiners, that we're doing maybe more freedom of speech, freedom maxis, this narrative is being co-opted, and they're going to try to essentially neuter the movement going on, because they see that this is the movement right now. And so seeing Larry Fink, like, am I surprised? Obviously not. BlackRock's one of the BlackRock is probably the biggest corporation in the world. They were one of the biggest ESG proponents. Yes, they have the best performing Bitcoin ETF, and you could argue that, hey, you know, a Bitcoiner now, or someone that is pro Bitcoin, or at least less anti-Bitcoin, is co-interim chief of the World Economic Forum. That's not the take that I would view this at. My take would be, guys, we know where this is going. And I think you're going to bring up the rest of this, and I was kind of covering it last week. We know what they want to do is they don't want you holding Bitcoin, so they're going to kind of corral you into these vehicles that you can't actually hold Bitcoin. And I'll stop there, Nico, because I think you're going there, right?
Yes, and this is my next.
Okay. But read this, Nico. Read the statement a little bit, because it is short,
Okay.
and I think there is some telling stuff in here.
Okay, so this is an official press release from the WEF, and they say, we are honored to take on this leadership role on an interim basis at a pivotal time for the WEF. As the organization moves into a new chapter, we look ahead with clarity, purpose, and confidence in the forum's enduring mission. Okay, anyways, the world is more fragmented. Like, who the fuck, excuse me, who the F are you guys? I didn't vote for you guys. I didn't, like, what? It's like they talk with this hubris of like, the world would not exist. The world would not function if it wasn't for us. Us benevolent, all-seeing elite, with this wisdom to rule the world. Like, bro, no, the world, I think, would be much better if the WEF wasn't around, in my humble opinion. That's just my opinion. But, like, I mean, you'll own nothing and be happy? That's a terrible effing idea. Anyways, the world is more fragmented and complex than ever, but the need for a platform that brings together business, government, and civil society has never been greater. We believe the forum could serve as a unique catalyst for cooperation, one that fosters trust. You guys have absolutely not done that whatsoever at all for anybody that is not in the elite class. Identify shared goals. Again, completely failed at that unless you're talking about the elite class, and turns dialogue into action. We remain optimistic. They're literally mentioning Opti in the press release, which is fantastic. Anyways, this could be a jab by Chrissy towards Opti. Who knows? The forum has an opportunity to help drive international collaboration in a way that not only generates prosperity for who, but distributes it more broadly. No, you want to distribute prosperity more broadly? It's very simple, my friends. It's very simple. Buy Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, put that Bitcoin into self-custody. You will get wealthier over time. That's how it goes. You don't need a forum or a government or a politician's help for you to start doing that today. That's number one. Number two, in general, if you want to end wealth inequality, which I do believe is a problem, by the way, because if you have too much wealth inequality in a society, the society literally revolts. Like, you want to know why the French Revolution happened? This is literally why it happened. There was a massive gap between the wealthy and everybody else. And then people said, enough is enough. I can't handle it anymore. The same thing is happening, by the way, with the younger generations. You probably, if you're a millennial or a Gen Zer, unless you're in the top 1%, even if you're in the top 1% of the income bracket for that age group, you probably are having a hard time affording a home or renting something without the help of your parents. That isn't normal. And the single reason as to why that is happening is literally central banking. So if Nico could just tell you this on a live stream, we don't need this. We don't need this. I would say this makes it worse, right? This makes it worse. How do you fix the wealth inequality? You end central banking and you adopt Bitcoin. That's it. You don't have to wait for central banking to end, by the way. You could just adopt Bitcoin right now as an individual and your life will get better. Why? Because it's the only currency on planet Earth, and shout out to Jeff Booth, which I just got the pleasure to hang around with in Helsinki. And shout out to him. This is where I'm getting it from. Bitcoin is the only money that is actually going to reflect, or better said, value your work in the natural state of the free market, which is naturally deflationary. So what that means is you should be getting wealthier as time goes by. Why? Because of the productivity increases due to technology. I mean, look at your iPhone, look at your computer, look at your Android phone. Look at, like, we're literally taking metal tubes and transporting across the world. We're literally live streaming. Opti's thousands of miles away from me right now, and we're streaming simultaneously to you guys all around the world. Like, the technology has been fantastic, but somehow the younger generations are poorer? Well, yeah, it's central banking. And what is the mechanism? Like, why does that happen? Well, it happens because every time they print money, the wealthier get richer because they have their wealth in assets, and the lower middle class that are earning and living paycheck to paycheck, they don't have the means to save in assets. Their earnings are getting debased when the central bank prints. That is literally the cause. And of course, we have a solution as Bitcoiners. Now, this leads me to my next bit, which is where I think this is going, right? I think there's going to be two classes of Bitcoin moving forward if we're not vigilant. Last week, Opti covered this a little bit when he was talking about, or highlighted the fact that the Google store, essentially due to laws in Europe, the MiCA laws, was essentially going to take away self-custodial wallets off the store. Now, I think, my 2 cents here, my opinion, I think that would have remained so. I think that policy would have remained in place if it wasn't for the community speaking up and saying something about it. Now, why am I saying this? Like, why am I speculating about this? Because this is speculation. The reason I'm saying it is because the signs are all there, right? The signs are all there. This is one of the latest insights or reports by the Bank of International Settlements. The Bank of International Settlements with the Financial Action Task Force basically is pushing for this regulation on the Bitcoin and crypto industry. And it had a lot of influence towards the MiCA regulations. And essentially, what's happening is the current system functions with intermediaries. I'm going to just break it down to like first principles and the basics, right? If I send Opti $100 on Cash App, it goes from my bank account to Cash App to Opti's Cash App. And then if Opti wants to withdraw it to his bank account, he could do that. If I send a Zelle, it's the same thing. If I send a wire transfer, it's the same thing. There's always an intermediary in place. What makes Bitcoin different is that there is no intermediary. And what has happened over the last 100 years or so, 50 years, is that the intermediaries have become enforcement arms. That was never their real purpose, but that's what they've become. So it's a lot easier to get a handful of banks, a dozen or so banks, to enforce something than it is to get millions and millions and millions of people to go along with an enforcement, especially if they don't see that enforcement as just. So if you're you can start talking about capital controls. You can start talking about if you live in a certain country, right? You can't send money to, let's say, a family member overseas just because you live in that certain country. Bitcoin comes in and says, hey, all of a sudden, you can transact peer-to-peer without asking anybody for permission. Now, I've always said Bitcoin exposes incentives. What it exposed is essentially you don't need an intermediary in order for money to function. You can even go out on a limb and say you don't need government in order for money to function. You don't need a bank in order for money to function. So what happens to those institutions when this disrupting technology comes into place? They've tried everything the last 10 years to try to shut this down. We've reached the phase where they've realized we cannot shut this down. But they can't directly come out and tell you and say, hey guys, we don't want you using Bitcoin because it takes power away from us. They can't say that. Because if they said that, people would be like, did you deserve that power in the first place? Or we bestowed you this trust. We bestowed government the trust of money and you've inflated it away, right? You've debased the hell out of it. Bitcoin comes in and says, hey, there's an alternative and that alternative is better. And guess what? No one controls it. It's rules. It's just rules without rulers, right? So what do they have to do? They have to come out with very sly ways and terminologies to try to convince people that, hey, without these regulations, without these checks, things become dangerous. So what does that mean? I'm going to weave it back in. It means that what they want is that they want people using custodied Bitcoin. They don't want people using non-custodied Bitcoin. And take a look at that phrasing and that wording there, right? Non-custodied Bitcoin. That term does not exist. That was an invented term, just like the term unhosted wallet. That term doesn't exist. What does unhosted mean? It means unhosted to the intermediary because they can control the intermediary. But what about self-custodial wallet? What about a self-custodial wallet? A self-custodial wallet, you are the intermediary. You are the boss. You are the one that makes the rules. So, got all of that out in the open to give you guys the context to this. So the BIS is proposes grading wallets for permissionless blockchain AML. So it goes from strong and it goes to weak. And I told you that there was going to be two types of Bitcoin, I believe, heading into the future. There's going to be the so-called, to use their terms, a tainted Bitcoin, and there's going to be a clean Bitcoin, right? And I think what I think is going to happen next, and I think the MiCA regulations are like kind of like a prelude to this, is they're basically going to say, listen, you can't take self-custody because we can't verify the AML and the KYC. If you send that self-custodied Bitcoin to someone else, the only way we can verify it is if you send that self-custodied Bitcoin from, that custodied Bitcoin from this exchange to this other exchange. And then you don't have Bitcoin. Then you have a continuation of the current system. That is what I think is going to happen. That is the direction of where I think we're heading. And I think that's the next battle to come. But here's the good news, and I'll end it with this because I've been on a little bit of a soapbox rant. This is the last test. And by the way, I think we are failing this test on epic proportions. Because ever since the introductions of the ETFs and the Bitcoin treasury companies, the amount of people that are taking self-custody for the first time in Bitcoin's history has actually decreased. If we actually want the world to change, we want a better world, we need to empower individuals. And the way that individuals are empowered is by reclaiming back their financial sovereignty via taking Bitcoin into self-custody. If individuals do not do that, if there's not a critical mass of individuals that do that, the Bitcoin experiment will have failed. Full stop. That is their next trick in the book. It's incredibly obvious, and we have a pretty good darn track record of predicting Bitcoin, of tomorrow's Bitcoin news today. So anyways, Opti, I'm going to hand it off to you. I know I went a little bit long, but I want to get your thoughts on this. I know you talked a little bit about this last week with the Google Play Store. I know they reversed it, but I kind of see the writing on the wall when it comes to this specific subject. Listen, guys, the line in the sand is self-custody. That's it. It's a non-negotiable situation. And don't let them convince you that somehow writing down 24 words and holding on to your own money is somehow dangerous to society. Like that is an absurd argument, because that's literally what the argument is, in my opinion. So anyways, Opti, I want to get your thoughts. I know we've gone a little bit long, and then we're going to hit the culture segment, and we're going to talk about a lot of other things. And also, guys, stay tuned, because at the end of the show, we will be giving away some Satoshis.
Yeah, so I did cover the Biz stuff and the Google Wallet stuff, but I do find it interesting that we got all three of these news stories in the same week. And you guys know me, I didn't bring my tinfoil hat on today on the show today. I actually haven't built one yet, but I've been thinking about building one.
You should. That'd be hilarious.
But I mean, when we heard the Google Wallet Play Store story, of course, I did a tweet, and it was like Bitcoin passes Google's market cap as the 5th largest asset in the world. The very same day we found out Google wanted to ban self-custody, like poetic. Then literally the following day, we got this Bank of International Settlements, which, if you don't know, is the central bank of all central banks out there, dropping this report basically saying, hey, you know, we're going to tag and bag everything. We're gonna add something like ordinals on top of this Bitcoin network so that we can, you know, keep you guys safe and we can minimize the money laundering. And then at the very end of the week, we have Larry Fink becoming the interim of the World Economic Forum. And this is where I was going a minute ago, where you're starting to see, and Nico's been spot on this for a while. You're starting to see what the playbook is. And of course, maybe, you know, we're reading into this a little too much. But again, only the paranoid survive here. And this, when the first two news stories dropped last week, the Google Play story and the Bank of International Settlement report, what I was saying is essentially, look, guys, the only way to really protect yourself from this is self-custody. You need to be taking this Bitcoin into your control, even if they're saying, you know, unhosted wallets are bad and it's for criminals or whatever. This is the only way to fight against this. Now, you add the second wrinkle of Larry Fink, literally the head of the biggest Bitcoin ETF in the world right now, and you are starting to see where this is going. They are going to essentially incentivize you or find ways to incentivize you to not hold your Bitcoin, whether that's calling you a criminal, whether that's blocking you from downloading wallets onto your phone, or whether it's trying to get your gains in the ETF and so you don't actually hold that Bitcoin. It's all going the same direction. If they can't control the layer one Bitcoin network, which is what we're all interacting with currently, if they can't control the network, then they're going to find ways to essentially put you in, you know, some kind of playpen here where, like, yeah, you get Bitcoin gains. Yeah, you're going to get whatever your 5x returns in fiat or Bitcoin exposure in fiat terms the next 10 years or something like that. But you can't actually interact with Bitcoin. You are seeing where this is going. And I think, you know, what's the saying, Nico? There is no coincidences, but there's no, I forget what the meme is.
Oh, wait, side note. This is hilarious. Zelensky's wearing a suit while meeting with Trump.
Of course. It seems like he needs a new bill. It seems like he's going to ask for some money. But you are seeing the direction here. They want to stop self-custody. They can't actually do that. So they're trialing certain things here. And I really just got to double echo what I said a minute ago. You should not be buying the BlackRock ETF. Personally, I would say you shouldn't be buying ETFs at all. You should be buying spot Bitcoin, taking that into custody. The more people that interact with Bitcoin directly, using their own keys, using their own nodes, this is how we can fight against this. Yes, we don't have the capital that these institutions have, but if you own your own money, that is the goal here. Even if it's freaking 32 sats, generational wealth here. Even if it's the 32 sats here, at least you know that you can send that money wherever you want without anyone stopping you. And that's the goal here. More people interacting with Bitcoin, actually using Bitcoin so that you can send money where you are. And if you really can do that, or rather get as many people doing that, then we disintermediate the middlemen. And then they are completely irrelevant with what's going on in finance, in money. And we know that their power comes from their control of money. This is, of course, something that's been seen coming down the pipeline for a long time. When they start losing control of the money, they're going to do whatever they can to scramble for more control. Whether these were trial runs or not, whether these are just, theses, proposals, they're telegraphing what they want you to do. They don't want you holding Bitcoin. So what are we going to do, guys? We're going to hold more Bitcoin in our own keys.
Absolutely, guys. If it's not your keys, it's not your cheese. Anyways, guys, we're going to be giving away some sats. We're going to hit the culture segment. Again, very historic milestone for Simply Bitcoin. It's celebration. Appreciate you guys. And of course, we have the results from the poll that we dropped. So we're going to be right back in just 1 second. Here we go.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
Everybody, we are back. Opti, before we pass it on to you, I do want to end the poll. Will Bitcoin ever have a parabola again? 75% of you guys voted yes with 225 votes. 24% of you guys voted no. And yes, you see, if you're tuning in, if you're tuning in on audio,
so loud.
Ladies and gentlemen, Simply Bitcoin broke 100,000 subscribers last night or early morning, depending on where you are in the world. This has been a crazy, crazy journey. When I started this in 2020, there was no Bitcoin content. There was no Bitcoin only content. There was Andreas, there was Max and Stacy. There was a lot of crypto content, but there was no Bitcoin only content. And I had a dream, and I was lucky enough to meet someone who I consider my brother at this point, Opti, 2 years ago. And
dude, it's like 3 now. I think
we're
on
3 years ago. And ever since Opti joined, the channel basically took off. And of course, we had Rustin and Rustin join us. Jacob join us. I see a lot of people asking in the chat, Dante. Listen, guys, Dante needed a break, okay? He's gonna be back. He's gonna be back this week. Don't worry, okay? And we had Dante join us. And now Sophie, my wife, who's making content for us. And of course, all the people behind the scenes that make Simply possible. Bryson, Morpheus, Jacob, Wine, and who am I missing, Opti? V, new content creator.
All our editors.
Of course, our editors who make this possible. Love you guys. Ahmed, Parnica, Suraj, not be possible without all you guys. And we're so grateful to be here. And of course, our partners, the partners that support us today, and the partners.
Yeah, Oceans. There's too many people here.
Oceans, of course.
Ashton, the whole team,
and all our partners that fund the show. We would not be on, we got to pay for the bills, guys. So, we wouldn't be here without our partners, our current partners and our previous partners. So we're so grateful for all of you guys and, all the viewers and our partners. Just, we wouldn't be here without you guys. And this has been a dream of mine for half a decade. And, it became a dream of Opti's too, when he joined me 3 years ago. And it's, I'm lost. I'm at a loss for words. This is surreal. This is what you dream of.
Megan.
And Megan. Of course, and Megan and Zemo Media, of course. you know, I'm at a loss for words. This is what you dream of when you start, when you're a YouTuber. This is 100K. This is what you dream of, right? And I was taking a look at the numbers the other day. Only 0.03% of YouTubers ever reach 100,000 subscribers. So we're incredibly thankful. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. It really, really means the world to us. And here's to the next 100,000 subscribers. And then
the next 900,000.
I'm throwing it out there. You know, maybe one day 1 million, bro, which would be, you know, insane. So thank you guys a lot. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, Chris.
Chris in the chat, bro, and Luke, Chris and Luke, Chris, Luke, Sophie, of course. So many people to thank. Yeah, wow. I shot the bed on all the shout outs. So many incredibly important people. You know. So anyways, all right, that's my bit. Opti.
Yeah, man. Obviously, look, I joined Simply. I think our YouTube was at 5K then, and it's been a long journey. I actually, Nico, should we say the quote we always tell ourselves behind the scenes? If we knew how hard it was, we probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. So, and that quote comes from the NVIDIA CEO, and he's like, if I knew how painful it was going to be when I started, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I think like Opti and I, when we were doing this channel, like especially in the early days, all of that naivety is like what has allowed us to persevere, because like, guys, you guys see the finished product, right? Like you guys see the show and you guys like, you know, you guys see it as a viewer, but the amount of BS that you have to deal with in the background is insane, right? Whether it's on all, I'm just not going to get into the specifics, but on everything, right? Like on everything that you can, anything that you can imagine has probably happened to us at one point or the other. So, you know, that's what makes reaching this milestone that, you know, that's what makes it that amazing, right? Is that despite all the stuff that you encounter, you know, you still persevere and you still continue. And yeah, it's just been absolutely freaking wild. And yeah, I mean, Opti, like, I mean, didn't we think we thought it was going to be so easy. Like we thought this was going to be a layup. We were just like, let's just keep making videos and eventually things are going to work out and like, everything's going to be fine. Like, that's what you're thinking. Like, cause you think about it, you're like, it can't be that hard. Like it is so effing hard. You have no idea.
Yeah, no, Nico, you reminded me, and then I'll give, you know, my thanks to everything, but you reminded me when I joined, I joined Simply Bitcoin. What was that? 2022. We could barely get 1,000 views on a video. And you know, I quit everything in my life to do this because I saw the vision back then. And we had like 5K subs on YouTube. We didn't even have a Rumble then. We weren't even streaming to Twitter yet. We just had a YouTube channel, barely had a Twitter, and we just kept going. And again, you know, I think our highs at the time was like 1,000 views on a show, and we were like, "Yep, we're gonna commit everything to this." Probably wouldn't do that again if I'm being completely honest, but it's totally worth it today. Like, I just want to give a huge shout out to literally every single person that has ever clicked on our videos, that ever watched our videos, that's watched a minute of our videos. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the Simply Bitcoin team, we love you guys. We appreciate every single one of you guys. And I even appreciate everyone that gives a shit every single day. I know you guys want us to be perfect. You want the show to be perfect. You want the memes back, et cetera, et cetera. Well, trust us, guys. We are working on the back end a lot to make this the best show possible for everyone. Of course, we can't make everyone happy,
You
but
guys are
we're
gonna,
doing our best.
you guys are gonna be very happy in the next month or so. There's gonna be a little bit of
good stuff.
a little bit of a change up. We got some things up our sleeve that I think you guys are gonna be incredibly hyped about. I saw in the Rumble chat, we're incredibly committed to Rumble. We're about to break.
To say that too.
We're about to break 10,000 subscribers on Rumble.
We're getting to 100K on Rumble soon.
It was very difficult to just reach the first 1,000. So yeah, we're super committed to Rumble. We post everything on there that gets posted on YouTube. So, and of course the audio platforms as well. The audio platforms are going parabolic, but of course none of that's like public information. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. That's really the culture today. Another Bitcoin only channel reaches 100,000. There's only a handful of us, not even 10. So this is great. And thank you. This is a privilege and an honor to do this for a living and to do this for you guys. So really from the bottom of my heart.
Wait, are you guys quitting? No, we just started.
We just started. Really,
we just became an official YouTube channel today.
Yeah, pretty much. So really from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for making our dreams come true. And the best is yet to come. And we hope to not let you guys down. We're going to continue to strive to make the best Bitcoin content we can to entertain you guys, and to help you guys through your Bitcoin journey. So thank you. We really appreciate it. Today is August 18th, 2025. I'm your host, Nico. It's my legendary co-host.
Wait, Nico. Are you going to rug pull? Didn't you say you're going to give people sats?
Yeah, we're going to give away sats, dude. I'm sorry. I'm like getting all emotional and shit, dude. This is
Wait, why
crazy.
You set up McConnell? This should be our new channel model. Simply Bitcoin scamming plebs into prosperity since 2020.
Well, we don't scam anyone here.
I know that's the point,
Bitcoin.
Nico. We're clickbait scammers, but if you watch our shows, you get rich in the process.
Let me rephrase it. We entertain people into Bitcoin. Boom. I gotta write that down because that's pretty good.
Ah, that's weak, dude.
Scamming
people into profits.
No, we don't scam anyone.
That's why it's funny, dude.
We don't do that. We entertain people into Bitcoin. Are you
you almost rug pulled them on the sats though. So.
All right, so
how are you gonna do this is the real question.
It's super easy, dude. You gotta head over to bitcoinwell.com. Because on bitcoinwell.com,
let's go.
If you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well. And the Bitcoin wishing well, you have an opportunity to win sats every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a live demonstration for you guys on the show.
You should do a couple.
Yeah, we'll do 3 today just to celebrate a very special occasion. And what you want to do is you want to get your Lightning wallets ready. And first person to scan the QR code today has won 621 sats. We're going to do it again. We're going to toss another coin into the wishing well. And first person to scan the QR code has won 620 sats. And we're going to do it one more time. Toss a coin into the wishing well and get your Lightning wallets ready. Person won 455 sats. So I think it's like one more. Okay, one more by popular request. Toss another coin into the wishing well. And the prize is 691 sats. Again, if you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, you use that URL. When you sign up, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well. Every single time you're going to win sats, but you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. It's like more than $1,000 these days. Anyways, guys.
Hey, wait, Nico, before we go, shouts out to Chris in the chat. The official stats for Simply Bitcoin up to this day, 4,824 videos, 28.6 million views, and now 100K subs. That's crazy. Dude, we almost dropped 5,000 videos. That's crazy.
Should I drop a little bit of a soft flex, Opti? A little bit?
I mean, I want to hear the soft flex. I don't know what it is.
28 million views on YouTube makes us the second most watched Bitcoin only YouTube channel.
Yeah? Yo, okay.
Love you all. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Take care.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.